Hi you guys, I'm Victoria, and today I'm going to be refuting Joseph's argument. His proposition was, engaging in playing music has a positive effect on human development. My claim for you today is that this proposition lacks controversy, and thus the presentation was informational rather than argumentative. And we're going to go through his three claims, which were 1, engaging in music develops our personal growth and emotional intelligence. 2, engaging in music develops social bonds between groups of people. And 3, engaging in music develops intellectual growth with cognitive development. So going back to number 1, engaging in music develops our personal growth and emotional intelligence. So some evidence given for this, he was explaining a group study where they took 2 groups of children, and he kind of described how some children were exposed to music and others were not. They were a control group, but he never really explained whether or not they were playing music or whether or not they were simply listening or doing rhythm lessons, which for a proposition that states that playing music is the important aspect, this was rather important to clarify. He then goes on to a different study that talks about how it helps measure emotion and how that develops. But this article that was published by Dr. Susan Hallam actually talks about using standardized testing to measure the benefits, which when you're talking about emotional growth, that's rather contradictory. So moving on to the second point, engaging in music develops social bonds between groups of people. His first claim implies that playing music leads to friendship because it requires children to go to rehearsals. This was also referenced to Dr. Susan Hallam. I went to many different parenting sites. One that I liked a lot was Gina's Pregnancy. It implied, really, children are capable of making friends in various situations, and parents help them out by putting them in these type of situations, which once again, we're lacking some controversy because music and music lessons are recognized as a way to help children. It's very similar to private music lessons. You've got soccer practice, you've got dance classes. It's recognized as one of these very beneficial things for children to developing social skills. So his second piece of evidence in this is that rehearsals teach responsibility. Yes, this is not very much of an issue. Parents teach children responsibility through activities that follow similar structures, such as going to practices for different types of activities, and basically this is taught in many schools. I mean, most public schools have a band team, most high schools have their marching bands. Once again, it is recognized as benefit for children. Side note, private music lessons kind of contradict this because it's like, okay, if you're getting a benefit of music but you're by yourself, that doesn't really help you develop social bonds with other people. But moving on, our third supporting claim that we have to go talk about is engaging in music develops intellectual growth with cognitive development. So at this point in the speech, things kind of started getting a little unclear. I think it was running out of time, so I had a bit more information in the outline than you guys actually received. But we'll talk about the evidence that I was able to go look at. We have another reference to Dr. Susan Hallam, who states that playing music helps transfer cognitive skills to other subjects. This is very widely agreed upon. I challenge you to find any sources that say that playing music, learning about music, does not help with intellectual growth. It's widely agreed upon. One of the issues, though, because this is our fourth reference to Dr. Susan Hallam, is if you actually look into her, she's referenced a lot here. She was a professional musician and music educator. That's not an issue. But at the University College of London, she teaches music psychology. If she doesn't prove that there is a connection between music and psychology, she doesn't have a job. So a rather less biased source probably would have helped, considering how much of her work is referenced in this argument. And then we go on to playing music helps with problem-solving skills by Dr. Fowler. Excuse me, not Dr. Fowler, he's not a doctor. But once again, there's very few dissenting opinions on this, which really we're lacking a lot of contradiction in this entire presentation. So some final comments. The basis of an argument is controversy. If you don't have that, you don't have an argument. And the statement that playing music has a positive effect on human development, very widely agreed upon. The only dissenting opinions that come towards playing music and how it teaches actually just has to do with lifestyle issues, not developmental issues, as to whether or not it's fair to force your kids to go to music classes and how it affects their time management. And through National Geographic, just to wrap up, I found a cool article by Jay Shulkin and Greta Ragland that basically says, we have found that music can actually be seen as a reflection of human cognitive abilities. So, just to wrap up, my claim today is that this proposition lacks controversy. Thank you.
No, I thought you took a good strategy on this, arguing that there's not really a lot of dispute or controversy on the issue, so therefore it's not argumentative. Although I think you did have a couple of places where you had secondary issues where you were suggesting that it's not as significant as is being suggested, or that it's definitely not unique. I think those points could be played up a little bit more with clearer declarative claims on that particular point, but they are separate issues from whether or not there's an argument that's going on here. Then you have individual challenges on individual pieces of evidence. I like the basic press on that first point. Was it in the study? Were they playing or were they listening? And since playing is the thing that the advocate's talking about, that's a pretty important function. So I think that makes sense. On the second point, this is the one where I thought you have a good counterclaim, basically, that says that kids can get these types of things from a lot of different places, and music is not particularly unique. And I think that's a separate question about whether it is, there's an argument here. I think the first thing you want to say is, well, like you said, duh, no kidding. Kids, whenever they get together in groups, that's an opportunity for them to socialize. But contradicting what they said later on, when you have private music lessons, I don't know how that happens. That doesn't work very much. But kids don't have private soccer lessons for the most part. They don't have private dance classes. Well, maybe they do. I don't know. But the idea is that those aren't there's nothing particularly unique about music when it comes to socialization. The one place where there might be something unique is on the issue of intellectual growth. And that's where you come back to the point where you're saying, yeah, but nobody disputes that there are things about music that are beneficial to the intellectual growth. I do think you could maybe make an argument that talks about whether or not it is significant or important, and maybe even the same argument that you're making on the earlier points is whether or not there are other things that could achieve the same objective. But the notion that there's not much dispute on this, I think, is a good strategy to go at. All right, thank you.